Hi, I'm Lindsay from Fluent TOEFL, and today we're going to go over Speaking Task 3 of the TOEFL IBT. I'm going to give you tips and strategies for Task 3 and example answers, even example notes. So let's get straight into it. Task 3 is an integrated task. This means you do not just speak, you also have to read and listen. Remember that integrated means mixed, so you're mixing your skills. You are not just using your speaking skills, you're also using your reading and listening skills. On task 3, you will read something about an academic topic and then listen to a lecture on that same topic. Your focus should really be on the lecture. The purpose of the reading is to give you context, to get you ready for that lecture. And the professor will give an example with 2 main points. It's important you cover both points in your answer. And you'll see that when we practice today, how everything comes in twos. Here's some quick tips for task 3. Use the title of the reading to help you summarize it quickly. You will often want to use those words in your answer. So let's say that the title is cognitive dissonance. You want to say what cognitive dissonance is. You want to cover that in your answer. And like I said before, focus your answer on the lecture. The purpose of the reading is to give you context for the lecture. And this is generally true on all of the TOEFL. You want to focus on the audios when there is an audio and a reading. You can use exact phrases from the audio in your answer. You should not use exact phrases from the reading. Always put the reading in your own words. This makes sense, right? It's a challenge to use the exact words from the lecture, but it's not quite a challenge to use the exact words from the reading. So that's why we do that. Okay, let's practice. This is the reading. You're going to have 45 seconds to read. Again, pay attention to the title and take notes. It's really important. In my other video, that's a full speaking course, you can find a link to a study guide that has a template for how to take notes for all of the speaking. So you should already have that. Use it right now. Now you have 45 seconds to read. Okay, we're moving on to the lecture.
So we encounter this in life all the time, but many of us are unaware that we do this, even psychologists who study it, like me. For example, the other day I was at the store and I was getting in line to buy something, but just before I was actually in line, some guy comes out of nowhere and cuts right in front of me. Well, I was really annoyed and thought, that was rude. I assumed he was just a selfish, inconsiderate person when, in fact, I had no idea why he cut in line in front of me or whether he even realized he was doing it. Maybe he didn't think I was actually in line yet, but my immediate reaction was to assume he was a selfish or rude person. Okay, so a few days after that, I was at the store again. Only this time, I was in a real hurry. I was late for an important meeting, and I was frustrated that everything was taking so long. And what's worse, all the checkout lines were long, and it seemed like everyone was moving so slowly. But then I saw a slightly shorter line, but some woman with a lot of stuff to buy was walking toward it. So I basically ran to get there first, before her, and I did. Now, I didn't think of myself as a bad or rude person for doing this. I had an important meeting to get to. I was in a hurry, so, I had done nothing wrong.
Okay, we're going to compare your notes and these notes. Of course, they're going to be quite different, and I made these extra clear and easy to read so you can read them. It's okay if you use your native language in your notes, and it's okay if they're messy. Mine are very clean and easy to read for you so that you can read them. And on the left here, we have the transcript from the lecture. So notice that in my notes on the top, it says the reading discusses the actor-observer effect. So right away, I'm using the title from the reading. And then I give a quick definition of actor-observer effect. The actor-observer effect, which is when we judge our own behavior differently than we judge the behaviors of others. So I'm summarizing very quickly in one sentence what actor-observer effect is. And because this is from the reading, it is in my own words, it's paraphrasing. Then we move quickly on to the lecture. The professor gives a personal example of this. It's about a story from her life, and then you can see there's point 1 and point 2 because the story has 2 parts. So let's look at part number 1. The man cuts in front of her and she is annoyed. She assumes he was a selfish person. Again, I'm writing a lot so that you can see all the details in my notes, but it's okay if you don't have as much time to write all of these details. And especially, it's okay if you're not writing in full sentences. I've said this before in other videos. I've said it before in this speaking course. It's good to use symbols and shorthand in your notes. Shorthand is when you spell things in a shorter, abbreviated version. And point number 2, part 2 of her story, is that she goes through the store again, but this time she's in a hurry and she cuts in front of somebody. She races ahead so that she can get in line before another person. And she doesn't think of herself as a selfish person, as she had done the other day with the other person who had cut in front of her. So all of this illustrates the actor-observer effect. Now let's look at the transcript from the lecture to see where this came from. So the lines that are bold, those are the key points that you must have in your notes and then you must have in your answer. The first one is, like we discussed, it's a personal story of her going to the store and somebody cuts in front of her. That's part 1. Part 2 is the second paragraph where it's bold. But then I saw a slightly shorter line. Sorry, it's kind of cut off there. I'll put this in the study guide so that you can follow along easily. But this is the part where somebody cuts in front of her. So these are the key parts that you need to have in your notes and then you need to have in your answer. Okay, I'm going to do a sample answer for you now. It will be 1 minute. That's how long I have to speak. And I will be using my notes because you should use your notes when you answer. The reading discusses the actor-observer effect, which is when we judge our own behavior differently than we judge the behavior of others. The professor gives a personal example of this. She tells a story about being at the store the other day, and a man cut in front of her. She was pretty annoyed that he had done that, and she assumed he was just a selfish person. Then another day, she was at the store again, but this time she was in a hurry. She had an important meeting to get to. There were long lines everywhere, but then she saw a line that was a little bit shorter than the others. And she saw a woman with a big cart of groceries going towards that shorter line. So she ran towards the line to get ahead of this other woman, essentially cutting in front of her. And she didn't think of herself as a selfish or rude person. After all, she had a meeting she couldn't be late for. That's why this illustrates the actor-observer effect. She judged the man who cut the line more harshly than she judged herself. Okay, here's the text of my answer so you can see how I've covered the main points that need to be covered in order to get a high score. And a big thing that they mark you on in the TOEFL IBT speaking is the rate at which you speak. So you really want to fill that minute. You want to be speaking consistently without any big pauses. It's okay to say the occasional and sound natural. That's a natural way to speak. But you want to keep a steady pace of speaking. You can see in my answer, I have the definition of actor-observer effect, the 2 parts to her story, and a quick conclusion about how her story relates back to actor-observer effect. Conclusions are not always necessary in the speaking section, but they can be added if clarity is needed and if you want to fill up some more time. Okay, it is your turn. I'll guide you through this next one, but I want you to do it on your own. And I highly recommend recording your voice on your phone if you can. You can also use AI to record the transcript of what you say, and then you can see the text. That can help you notice grammar mistakes, which is really, really valuable. I highly recommend using Otter AI. The website is just otter.ai. I will list it in the description below. That is a free resource to record your speaking, and it turns it into a transcript for you. Okay, you have 45 seconds to read. Are you ready for the lecture? I hope you're taking notes.
This is a true story from my own life. In my first year in high school, I was addicted to video games. I played them all the time, and I wasn't studying enough. I was failing chemistry. That was my hardest class. So this was a conflict for me because I wanted a good job when I grew up, and I believed I knew that if you want a good career, you got to do well in school. But I just couldn't give up video games. I was completely torn, and my solution was to change my perspective. See, the only class I was doing really badly in was chemistry. In the others, I was okay. So I asked myself if I wanted to be a chemist when I grew up, and the fact is I didn't. I was pretty sure I wanted to be a sociologist. So I told myself my chemistry class didn't matter because sociologists don't really need to know chemistry. In other words, I changed my understanding of what it meant to do well in school. I reinterpreted my situation. I used to think that doing well in school meant doing well in all my classes, but now I decided that succeeding in school meant only doing well in the classes that related directly to my future career. I eliminated the conflict, at least in my mind.
Here's the transcript. Everything in bold is a key point that you need to have in your notes and in your answer. Just like the previous one, she's using a personal example from her own life, and it is about her being addicted to video games. Remember, the purpose of number 3 is to show that you understand the connection between the example and the reading about cognitive dissonance. So how does all of this illustrate cognitive dissonance? It illustrates cognitive dissonance because there was a contradiction between what she believed and how she was behaving. She believed that grades were important, but because she was addicted to video games, she wasn't getting good grades. So pause the video now and do your answer. Do it now. Record it. Record it with AI as well so that you have the audio and the transcript. And one of the things I like about using AI to record the transcript is it can help you with grammar and with pronunciation too, because if the AI can't hear what you've said, if it misunderstands you consistently, then there's going to be some problems in your pronunciation, and then you know what you need to work on. Please let me know what questions you have in the comments, and if you haven't already, make sure that you watch my full speaking course right here.